That's what was weird about it. Like Cap knew how to throw and use his shield. You even see emotion in some of their faces as well. It's like they know who they are, they know what they're doing, they know who they're fighting.
If their brain only, if as the zombie, their brain only functions and as I want to eat human flesh and human meat, surely you wouldn't understand external technology that you're wearing.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another bonus episode of Fortune Theory. I'm Oliver, and this is Patrick.
Yeah. What's up? How you doing? Switch. There we go. Fuck's sake.
Okay, brilliant. Right, don't say anything. We're gonna get this right today. Don't say anything. So yeah, for episode 5 of What If, and oh my god, we were literally just talking about like COD a second ago, and this episode literally did feel like COD. Because it literally did though. COD zombies. Yeah. Like they're definitely bringing in, since like the end of episode 4, they're definitely bringing in darker tones now for these.
Yeah.
And it's that was a strange, but it felt like it gave off a bit of like Day After Tomorrow kind of vibe in terms of characters and locations. But like
yeah. Well, it had the
even
typical,
though it's not like a weather apocalypse, it's a fucking zombie apocalypse.
So it gave off that typical let's find the cure type of plot, which worked really well. Like you said, because you watched it before me, you watched it this morning. I had to watch it when I got in from work.
I watched it crack of dawn, and I was ready to record this podcast, and you were like, "Oh no, I'm not going to be ready till 3." And then I had to meet my friend before he goes back to uni. So I was literally out all day.
Like, it's good. It's like, well, you referenced World War Z to begin with.
Well, people say World War Z is bad, but it's not. I like World War Z. It's a bit like World War Z, but they don't run.
Well, it had World War Z vibes in terms of
just any zombie film or zombie series vibes. I think they were going Walking Dead with it a little bit, because that's probably the most popular thing regarding zombies.
Yeah. Like when most people think of a zombie series or like content, it's typically The Walking Dead. It felt very much itself. Yeah, it wasn't
just so like that opening part where Bruce comes back, because it's meant to be set during Infinity War, where Bruce Banner has just been, the Hulk has just been ejected from the what's it called, the refuge ship that used to be owned by the Grand Master, and by Heimdall back to Earth to warn the Avengers about Thanos. So he arrives at the Sanctum, and then he's wondering, like, in the main sacred timeline, like he bumps into Doctor Strange and Wong, and they team up with Tony Stark. In this reality, Tony Stark, Wong, and Doctor Strange are already zombies, and they infect Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw, and then all 5 of them team up against Bruce Banner, who can't turn back into the Hulk, and it's fucking hilarious. And got Spider-Man in, and like, what was strange is that the thing that shocked me the most was probably just, I knew Spider-Man was going to be in it. He was in the CMF series for the Lego. He's been in the trailers for it, and obviously Marvel have got the rights to kind of use him on and off in some of their MCU projects, as well as his own movies. And this is kind of What If, so it's an alternate timeline anyway, so it doesn't affect any canon continuity so much. They can do what they want with it, really. They can just roam free. But it was the fact that even though technically it is part of the MCU, and it's like MCU canon, or at least it will be when the show wraps up. But Peter Parker references Uncle Ben, and he references his parents, which I suppose that's kind of like what he can do. But that wasn't even the big thing. It was the fact that he referenced last year, and in the timeline that would have been 2017. Mr. Stark was going to make him an Avenger. That's him referring to the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. But the thing is, I swear part of the whole Marvel-Sony deal was that the Marvel Studios films, the Disney Marvel Studios films couldn't reference the Sony Spider-Man films. All they could do was have the appearances they couldn't reference events or characters or anything from it. They could only have Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and then like, as they had already, like Ned and Aunt May. They haven't had like any other characters or any other references to anything Spider-Man related, and referencing the events of the movie like directly was kind of a bit. I thought, I wonder how Sony's going to feel about that if they didn't already know. Because I feel like this is a more Marvel. Sony doesn't have much say in projects that Marvel do.
Was this in any association with Sony?
I don't. Well, considering Spider-Man's involvement, because it's meant to be like an alternate timeline. So obviously, during the main timeline, Peter Parker was in Infinity War, so his presence is kind of relevant for that reason, and also just because he is an MCU character now, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the whole point of his inclusion. It's not Tom Holland that plays him, and I think that's part of that. That's probably Sony's interference there. They're like, we don't want him playing it because it adds to confusion, and like probably just a licensing agreement thing because technically he's theirs. So they were probably like, yes, you can use him, but you can't, like, you're gonna have to find a different voice. You're gonna have to find a voice actor, something like that.
Not that they tried to find anyone that is completely.
They were probably more. They were probably more all right with it, just due to the fact that it's not like pure canon.
Yeah,
but it's just the fact that they reference something that is pure canon, which obviously would have still been canon up until the point that the events changed, where the zombie apocalypse started. But yeah, them doing the whole. They confirmed that Ant-Man and the Wasp took place 2 weeks before Infinity War. Yeah. So 2 weeks post Ant-Man and the Wasp was when Scott Lang was in the quantum realm getting the particles that the sort of quantum particles they needed to heal the villain Ghost.
Yeah.
But Hank Pym goes in the quantum realm to rescue Janet as he does in the original timeline, gets infected by the zombies. But somehow the zombies are smart enough to know how to use the equipment that their superhero-like equipment stuff. They're not just like, like just walking around.
Well, that's what I was going to go on to.
That's what was weird about it. Like, Cap knew how to throw and use a shield. You even see emotion in some of their faces as well. It's like they know who they are. They know what they're doing. They know who they're fighting.
Like, luckily with almost all of the superheroes, all of their abilities are sort of from within, if that makes sense. Other than like Iron Man.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Iron Man, Cap, like, obviously got the super strength, so he could throw it. But why would, like, what's the point of a zombie throwing a shield?
If their brain only, as the zombie, their brain only functions and as I want to eat human flesh and human meat, surely you wouldn't understand external technology that you're wearing.
Yeah, that's what I was, because like you got Iron Man flying about and he's using, like, even in the trailer, like he's got his shit. Captain America's got a shield. Iron Man's got like the blast armor out of his hand or whatnot, and he's flying around in his suit in the episode. And I'm just like, fucking zombie! How do you even know how to do that shit? Like, is there a part of them that's like, because they kind of reveal that there is a cure for it, so they can go back to themselves. So I'm wondering if there's any, like, because they did it with Scott Lang, who was turned into a zombie at the beginning of the episode, even though he's now headless, apart from his body technically. And Black Panther, T'Challa was also, he was back in. This was one of the first episodes after his T'Challa Star-Lord episode where he came back. That was cool. I forgot about that, actually. I wasn't thinking about that. I was too busy concentrating on the episode. But yeah, he was cured as a zombie as well, so he came back. But I think, like, you could see emotion in their faces as well, because it was when Vision decided to kill himself for some reason.
Yeah, because he'd realized that, like, basically everyone told him the morality of what he'd done in the,
so he felt he was unworthy to live,
and then sacrificed himself for the rest, basically. So he understood, like, what he'd done was wrong in the eyes of saving the world, and basically,
but it would have been helpful. It would have been helpful if he destroyed that stone, because at the end of the episode, you've got Thanos, who obviously in this timeline is still the Mad Titan, but he's now a zombie. He's now a zombie, basically. So technically he's dead, but like he's still in control, and he still wants to wipe out the universe.
I think that these zombies have a lot more control than your typical zombie in a zombie film. Like, most zombies are just flesh-eating, like, version. Like, the only thing left in the person is obviously the energy to move about, but all they want to do is eat human flesh.
Scarlet Witch is like, Vision's like, she's hungry, she hasn't been fed or whatnot.
Yeah.
And like, as an android, obviously he's still got the love for her, but now is like kind of making him a semi-villain. So I suppose he's kind of like the semi-villain
for
of
like
the
half a
episode
minute, yeah.
for half a minute, and then like Wanda's kind of like the main zombie antagonist of the episode, shall we say? Because she's like the most powerful one. She's like the one that draws them all out almost.
Yeah.
But she's not like on the ground going. She's like
there were some creative
more,
ways.
She's like more of a
though.
witch as a zombie. She's like more of just a zombie looking kind of like witch, and she's like not even interested in eating so much. She's just like fighting them.
Like
she fights Spider-Man and like whatnot, and it's just
that
was insane. By the way,
there were some interesting differences with zombie kills, like in this, because of obviously the powers and everything like that was able to be very done differently, basically. Because every single type of zombie film or series, they always try to find a new way to make a zombie death or a zombie killer in some way, and it's literally like with Hope, like sacrificing herself, but in the end being giant zombie.
That's like the second time she's died in the series in the space of like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
as well. Like, cause one version of her died in episode 3, which was the whole Hank Pym being the sort of half Yellow Jacket, half Ant-Man villain. Pardon me. And now in this one, she's died again because she sacrificed herself and basically is now a zombie.
Yeah.
And she's like the biggest zombie. She's like, giant wasp.
Which is actually really interesting. Yeah.
I hope they do something like that in Quantumania, Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, the third Ant-Man film. Because that would be great to see her like become, the giant wasp.
Yeah.
I don't know if she does it in the comics or not. I'm guessing she might, but just an interesting concept there.
It was really interesting. I first went in really liking where it was going. I thought, okay, this is your typical sort of zombie thing, but I guess there's only so much you can do with the whole premise of a zombie story.
Due to one, it being Marvel, so they need to keep the rating, and two, because it's also animated, so they've also contradicted themselves regarding rating. But the reason they've done it animated isn't for kids' appeal. It's because they don't have the time, money, or budget to recreate the scenes.
No,
but they need the story. They need
so
the stories.
much easier for them to do animated for these stories. Because they are literally in the name "What If." They're all just other ideas.
They need to tell these stories. All the stuff that they do, everything that's coming out now is coming out for a reason, because it's relevant.
Yeah,
like it's relevant to what they're building up towards, and they need to have it all out now because they had that delay last year because of COVID. But they had plans to do What If as an animated series from the start, because they knew there's no way they're going to be able to recreate all these shots, scenes, locations, areas to look exactly depicted like they did before. Like they got away with it in Endgame because some areas and locations, they were just sprouting around different like side areas off. So they could like just make those up. And then the rest was just like archived footage.
Yeah.
And plus they had no choice. They had to do it that way for that. But like with this now, you're jumping into more scenarios and locations that we've been to before. So you can't exactly like full on recreate them shot by shot, like thing by thing.
Yeah.
You just have to like, look at the original shot from the film and then animate that.
Well, it's just
shot.
A lot easier to physically do because they can probably do it. They can do what they would do in like a week in probably like a couple of days with animation, which is a lot easier. And the environments, they can recreate basically any environment.
Detail by detail. If there was like a red or blue car, like one in front of the other, like stood by Ebony Moore and Cull Obsidian, they would have like recreated that, and it would have been the exact same type of car, same angle, broken wind mirror, maybe, like all those small little details they've got. That's how they're doing it. But because of how popular this is going, they are talking about opening their own animation studio in the future. Like they're going a bit of like a Star Wars route with this, because they've got like all the canon Star Wars TV shows like Clone Wars and Bad Batch, and they're all canon to like the main Star Wars like saga. So it's a cheaper and easier way of doing it, and plus animation is always an appeal. And it's like the first animation I can like proudly say that I'm watching, other than like Family Guy and Our American Dad, because it's like
well, it's the first like it's an animation that doesn't necessarily feel like it's not like only for children, but it's also not the extreme, which is like Family Guy.
That episode was definitely not for children, because you've got main characters getting killed and turned to zombies, and then their heads exploding, and you see it.
Yeah.
detail to detail. Like, it would have been a lot more gorier as a film. Like, that episode would have been like it. See, this is the thing. Like, things like Deadpool, for instance, like that would be allowed to be PG if it was animated, because it would be less graphically gory, if that makes sense.
Well, you can cartoonize a lot of things when it's animation, whereas when it's real, when it's like live action,
the only thing that holds Deadpool back is the swearing.
Swearing, yeah. You could change if you changed the language and animated it. It would probably be like a 12A, maybe. Yeah.
Well, you could make it funny by him beeping out the words, but then to the core audience, that's like, well, that's not funny. The only reason you've done that is because you need to keep the age rating, but you want to make it realistic as much to the character as possible. So you just having to keep beeping all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just imply the words, say the innocent ones, and imply the rest.
Yeah. True.
Like, and then beep a few times when he's got to say something really.
Well, there's often comedy in the censoring, in the bleeping of it instead of the actual word. Like, I often find
swearing isn't completely funny, but yeah, I feel like we're getting off topic here. No pun intended.
Not on our Monday episodes, but
no. We do have a few topics to talk about off topic, but related ramble rant, but we might record that.
Yeah, let us know what you thought of episode. What one are we on?
This is 5, and this is probably my favorite so far out of all 5 of them. Yeah, nice. I think I preferred it to last week's. I think not Wednesday. Episode 3 was my least favorite so far.
Yeah.
But this one today was my favorite. Last week's is probably my 3rd favorite, maybe. Star-Lord T'Challa's my
Well, you got to wait
favorite,
until they all finally come out before you can rate them all. Anyway.
5, 1, 2, 4. Yeah. That's what I'll say. But 1 and 2 keep jumping between one and the other. But maybe like 5, 2, 1, 4.
Last week's a lot, and I think probably T'Challa Star-Lord as well was pretty good.
Yeah, that's the order: 5, 2, 1, 4, and then 3. that's my favorite list.
5, 2, 1, 4, 3.
That's my favorites list of the episodes so far.
So there we go. Marvel's What If episode 5. Go watch it if you haven't already. Let us know what you thought as well. Subscribe and all that lovely stuff.
Yeah. Also, if you'd like to see more of our specific depictions of and our personal opinions on films and their ratings and reviews, if any of you have got the app called Letterboxd, is it Letterboxd or Letterboxd?
Letterboxd, I think, but it's like Letterboxd or Letterboxd. Yeah,
the app icon thumbnail is like just like a black box with like 3 circles that merge together. One's orange, one's orange, one's green, one's red, or something like that. I've got an account. Pat's got an account, even though I haven't found you on there yet. I don't know how many reviews you've done, or if you've done.
I think I just done a batch of them when I first registered. And it's been a long time since I used it. So
I've been doing a lot more now because as you know, if you watched our last episode, I've been rewatching the Harry Potters. So I've been doing those. I've done one for Shang-Chi. I've done one for a few animated films that I used to love growing up with.
I need to go back to it and update it with 100 films.
Yeah, I do as well. I'm trying to add something at least once every day or once every couple of days at least, because it's just kind of addicted once you get the idea of it is quite mentally addictive.
Adding to what you think of stuff, and if you
I did think it was just films, but apparently you can do TV shows as well. So yeah, feel free to give that a look if you're interested in that idea. Feel free to find us and find more about our opinions on specific things that may answer some questions you might want to put in the comments if we don't cover it in these videos. Jesus Christ, try saying that comes fast. With asthma as well, by the way. I suffer from asthma. And we'll see you if you're only here for the bonus videos for What If, then thank you for supporting Marvel, but please don't toy with us. See you next week, I suppose, for episode 6. If you want to stick around for our other videos, we'll do the next ramble rant on Monday. And what are we doing this Friday? Because I think I have no idea.
Potentially be going back to kind of what we did before. If we're not talking about Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, it will probably be another older film, unless we get a chance to see.
It probably won't be either of those, but that is the route
they'll be coming up anyway over the next coming months, and probably a film that's been out a while that we'll be going to talk about again.
I think the next one of the next films that we're talking about is probably new in terms of new releases. We'll be talking about obviously the new James Bond. We'll be talking about Venom. We'll be talking about Dune, I expect, as well.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Eternals, obviously. Spider-Man: No Way Home. And I want to say there's something else, but I can't think.
Nothing really until next year, unless I can't think of anything.
Maybe a musical.
Yeah. Well, there's that Spielberg film. I can't remember when it's coming out. West Side Story.
We're not going to talk about Cop Shop because that looks like a pile of shit. But yeah, you'll notice that if there's a film that comes out that
we haven't reviewed,
kind of big,
that
we haven't reviewed, you know our opinion on it.
There we go. And on that note, thank you for watching. We'll see you on Friday, and if you stick around for the bonuses, we'll see you next Wednesday. So, TT, bye bye.
Titty.
Toodles.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Clap the sound of my heart, the beat goes on and on and on. A copyright.
Oh fuck! What recorded?
Keep that in.